Here we've got the viruses. I can see that this is going to bring me to the analysis, limiting it to simply the members of this particular grouping. Same thing with the Monera or bacteria, and the same thing with the nosodes. Once we start getting into the plants, the fungi, and animals, we'll see many, many sub-levels. So first of all, I'm going to go and look at the plant level. I click once, and it brings me to the first plant level illustration. And here we can see that all of the major categories of plants are represented. These are organized in a very precise scientific manner based on the most current thinking using the most recent taxonomical system of classification. This is called the APG2, or Angiosperm Phylogeny Group System, which was developed in 1998 and organizes its information not based solely on the similarity of form between the various plants, but based on the DNA or genetic similarity of the various plants contained in this illustration. Now, if I take my mouse and I bring it over to the very first type of plants, which are green algae, I notice that my hand now appears to have a little W attached to it. This W tells me that there are no actual members of this particular grouping contained in our repertory or our materia medica. Therefore, I can't limit any type of analysis to this particular grouping. The W, however, tells me that if I click on green algae, it will then take me to a Wikipedia search and show me all the information about green algae in the Wikipedia website. Let's go ahead and try this. I click on green algae. It opens up my web browser. It takes me to the Wikipedia page specifically associated with green algae. If I want to go back to my radar program, I Alt-Tab or use my mouse to select the radar, and I'm back in the graphical interface of the Radar 10.5 software program. The next level is Bryophyta. Now here we can see that there are some members, but not many. If I click on Bryophyta, I see there's only actually one member in our repertory and materia medicas. If I hit backspace, it brings me back to the last illustration. I can do the same thing with club mosses. Again, there'll only be a couple of members here, or actually here we only see one member, Lycopodium. Backspace. I see my ferns and horsetails. Here I believe we have two members. If I hit backspace again, brings me back to the last graph that I looked at. Now here we can see some of the higher order plants. The first type of higher order plants are the gymnosperms. And I can either click on the gymnosperms level or the subcategory called the Pinnalis. Let's try the gymnosperms first. I click on gymnosperms. It brings me to the gymnosperm illustration, and I can see the various groupings within the gymnosperms. Here I can see that these members have no sublevels. If I click on them, it will limit my analysis to the members of that particular grouping. Here I can see there's a sublevel. If I click on Pinnalis, it will take me to the various members or groupings within the Pinnalis. Now you'll notice that some of the family members are inside these ovals. Some are larger than others based on the number of members being represented in our literature, and some are not in bubbles at all. Those that are not in bubbles have no information in our repertory or materia medica. So if I click on any of these items, it will simply do a Wikipedia search. Let's go ahead and try this. I click, it takes me back to the Wikipedia website, and it takes me to the page describing this particular botanical grouping. Now this is particularly of value to people who are conducting research with botanical families in homeopathy, because it allows them an avenue to explore the various types of family groupings for which we don't currently have information. In other words, this is an access point that allows the homeopathic researcher to access additional information and to determine which particular groupings may be useful in the future in terms of provings or materia medica type of investigation. Let's Alt-Tab to go back to the radar program, and you'll notice that behind this particular illustration is a drawing. We have chosen the most representative member of each illustration. So for the gymnosperms, and specifically the panalis, the most representative member in our literature, in our homeopathic materia medica, is Thuja. And so here we have a line drawing of that particular member. You'll notice across the top, it shows you the pathway by which we got to this particular illustration. Each of these is also a button. The very last button, if you click on it, will limit your analysis to the panalis. That's also true here for the panalis illustration description name itself. So let's go back up to the gymnosperms first by clicking here, and the plants by clicking here. And you can see there's an easy navigation to move around between the various illustrations. We then have the basal angiosperms, the magnolids, monocots, eudicots, and the various subgroupings of the eudicots. If I click on asterids, I will see the members of the asterids all broken down in a very precise scientific manner. This is actually the first time that information in homeopathy has been represented to such a high scientific precision. I'll go back and click on the plant level. You can see here now the rosids. If I click back on plants, you can see here the main level. Here you'll see the eudicots and so on and so forth.